making their first appearance in this final round qualifier. But match number 1, the battle bus is on the way. We're going to get you into it right now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Jonesies, Bonesies, and everyone else in between. Here we go. This is Chapter 2, Season 4. FNCS Qualifier 3, Round 3, Match 1 coming out of Europe. I'm Sundown, joined here by Sancho West, and we're hopping just outside of Risky Reels, heading over to Authority, where one of the teams who has qualified every single week, that's Amplify, Matzo, and ADN, are staking their claim on the side. You can see a nice little fly through as we pass by the Sentinels and we head towards the southern part of the map, Sancho.
Yeah, here it is, a first peek at the first zone, and we have some elite trios out here and about, and this is your pick of Clement, Nikos, and Floki. Well, so now let me know, why'd you pick this squad? Why are you going to pick this trio to walk away with the #1 spot here in round 3?
So one of the things in particular we saw a decent amount of them was the very first day of the FNCS this week on that Saturday, where they performed and were really neck and neck nearly the entire time with Nate and his trio. And we saw just how dominant that Nate and Kezix could be. And the fact that they aren't here, and they were really kind of the stumbling block for Clement and Co. when they weren't really able to kind of get themselves going. So now that they're going to have a little bit more room in those endgame situations, and they don't have to deal, I don't want to say like their French arch nemesis, but I think they're going to have like a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder to perform better this week. And honestly, they're one of the teams that I think has a more versatile style endgame, meaning not only can they play that super high ground tier and be able to kind of force people out and dominate from 5th circle onward, but they're more than comfortable kind of take a tarp, take kind of low ground level, and then go from there and execute. And now you can actually see in the Elim feed, we have another team you should probably keep an eye on. That's Vettel and iDrop cleaning up their initial contention.
Absolutely. Those are one of the 13 teams making a second round 3 appearance. You have Vettel, Flokis, Quavo, Advise, Airwalk, who just went down, Lunef, Queasy, Refsguard, Skites, Hen, Lucia, Blaster, and Andalix. And, of course, the 17 making an appearance. But this team has gone 3 for 3 in round 3. It is the elite Mongrel, Nitro, and Tayson with a very interesting split here, visiting the new Witch Hut. These huts are quite awesome, and they're very spooky. I mean, the spirit is in live. It's so close. We are about a week or so away for Halloween or All Hallows Eve. And already, though, it's already in the spirit here in the Fortnite Island, as there's candy littered about. And this is one of my little secret little drop spots for a solo arena. If you guys want a little tip right there, I like it. It's a really fun spot to drop to, and you can see Mongrel thinks the same thing.
Yeah, now you can see rotating out of the ruins now, a.k.a. the X-Authority, a.k.a. the X-Agency, Midas bringing down his revenge. However, do not forget that those henchmen, along with their RPGs, are not in the competitive game mode. We will not be seeing them here. However, there's a little bit of talk about it. Their RPGs are actually available in the competitive mode. A lot of people don't know this, but you can go shark hunting, and you can still end up getting those rockets. They haven't been in there from the very beginning. I think the first time we saw them was in some of the Middle Eastern scrims coming out in the first couple of days of the patch, and everyone was like, what? Where did those come from? But a couple players having been able to find those out now, but Matzo Amplified picking up their second elimination here. That's ADN getting the conversion over. And you talk about kind of those consistent teams, the ones who've been able to push towards the top. We saw Mongrel and Co. kind of on the backside there with Tayson and Mitro being taken out, but this is one of the other teams we want to focus on. Matzo Amplify and ADN, they've been doing so incredibly well at controlling the center of the map in Europe that it makes it really difficult for all of these other teams to rotate past them. They do incredible jobs at putting down these shots, making sure they chase and close out their eliminations, and they get enough Storm Surge to where the fact that they're so far central and they're not really going to see a ton of action, maybe off of minus the initial drop, it really enables them to kind of further themselves in the game. As now we hop on board here, Rajasser and his trio going up against Hen, Deceptos, and Patrick over in the swamps.
Hen, Deceptos, and Patrick have been a very strong team here in the trio scene. They haven't got the signature win in the sense of rounding out in round 3, but they are so strong, and no doubt they're in already going into the heats. This is the squad right here that we're seeing. The legendary Lucia and Rizar, they have to find their way in, and that's going to be the story here. is, yes, there's automatic qualifiers using the series points, and that's going to be the Benji route, considering that he hasn't made the top 15 in that trio. But there's going to be trios out there who are going to do their best to try to get on in, and some trios are all or nothing. It's about making that top 15 or bust. And so that's what's going to be so tough. And round 3, historically in the EU region, has been seen as the ultimate practice. This is pretty much close to what you're going to expect to going into the heats, and close to what you expect going into the grand finals, those championship that's going to happen at the end of the month. And already Hen, Deceptos, Patrick are kind of setting up a line here. You're seeing that no kind of really strong stance, except Patrick and Legendary going off in a build fight. So Deceptos and Hens are kind of holding this off. It's kind of a stalemate situation. It's all up to Patrick, who didn't really expend too much of the hard match. As you see, Legendary, a lot of material there used, no doubt, maybe took some shots here. But these are the scary fights here, Sundown. Fighting way out here in Fortilla. You talked about the central location of the Train Hard team, but fighting way out there in those outskirts. We've been seeing it. The Russian team of Rotary and Stormy Right, they landed here before. It's that worth taking this fight so deep and so committed at this moment.
Well, the one benefit particular about if you do get stuck in a fight over here, you at least have the swamp to kind of deter off some of that storm damage, as we're going to rotate on over to another team who's trying to get the rotation on. That's Refsguard, Scram, and Stompy. We saw a little bit of a prediction coming in towards them, but they've last week, but they've kind of struggled a little bit to get going here in these final rounds, as we actually see in the side there. Hen did end up getting picked up, as Patrick will get the trade over onto Legendary as that fight resolves over in the swamp. But Scram trying to get some pressure here, and he's going to find it here, and that was the final elim onto Mongrel. We'd seen that Tasted and Mitro had gotten taken out early. Mongrel tried to kind of hit the scavenger side onto the Witch's Shack, but he's going to get taken out there, and Scram, the benefactor there, as now we're going to swing back on over to that Slurpy Swamp fight. And Hen got taken down, but not converted on. So actually, Patrick and Rajasser going head-to-head here. One Lush is going to get taken down, and it's all on Rajasser to convert here. You can see Rajasser actually trying to head back on over to Lusha to try and keep the 2v3, but the storm is eventually going to end up ticking him over, as Rajasser will also go down there. So Deceptos, Patrick, and Hen wounded but not beaten all the way back, going to be able to get Hen's going to fall, and they'll be able to pick him back up and should be able to chain revive out there. But we're going to swing back on over here now to Vettel and Eyedrop.
Here is Vettel, Eyedrop, and Stir 6. They qualified in week 1, and that was a very strong performance. They came out of the gate. This is where they usually like to go in Lazy Lake, and they have this really strong scavenger route that they like to take, going through the Sentinel Graveyard. They really love rifts. Rifts are a big, vital, important part of their rotations. They'll take a rift, and they usually go dead center, so expect them to play for dead center. As if this is your first time watching Fortnite competitive, it's zones 1 through 4 are going to go centralized. After that, we have a half in and half out in zone 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, full rotations. We're barely getting to zone 2 right here, as Annalix and Janice and over time, Duck on Top, but X Squeeze, who are Reese's pick, starting off the tournament with already 1 elimination and 1 point, and with a good old-fashioned Stormage fight.
Do you think his name is Duck on Top, like a rubber ducky, like you squeeze? Because you think about it, you squeeze a rubber ducky and it makes kind of that squeezy, squeezy noise. Like, is that what it is?
My question is he the one? Does he make bath type? I hope so. Let's see. Andalix, Duck on Top, a.k.a. Squeeze, Squeaky Wiki, is really doing really well. They're vibing. They were my early favorites going into the FNCS trios when they were announced, considering that there's so much decorative in terms of awards between the two, so much championships stack into that, and they have a really aggressive player in X Squeeze. But, they didn't qualify for week 1, but we're seeing them slowly wrapping it up at the right time. And look at it, the strong central control of Matzo, Amplify, and ADN. And this is going to be a strong opportunity to also gatekeep Janice's trio sitting on the outskirts there near Salty Springs.
And this is what we were talking about right at the start, is when you have so much control over the Ruins, which was the authority beforehand, and they've been dropping here every single week. They force the players out. They've been one of the few teams to qualify into every single one of these finals. And by not only getting the Storm Surge off here, but because they are so central on the map, they're able to get these tags on players rotating through and pick up kind of these one-off eliminations, or they'll notice they're like, hey, is that maybe a duo we can take advantage of? Or, hey, is that one person who's rotating over there? Okay, well, we can go. And we have all of this excess loot that then comes with getting kind of one of these few power POIs, and it's honestly really scary to contest them because Matzo and Amplify have been playing together forever, and the chemistry that they have on top of ADN's individual talent makes them a difficult trio to crack. And as we say that, you can see the sniper shot cracking down and getting a knock over there, and they're trying to get conversion on it as the Storm is going to help them with this gatekeeping effort.
Definitely. They're one of the most underrated trios because, like you mentioned, not a lot of people are talking about them. They've already qualified in the 3. And what's also very important, that central location also gives them really strong placement points. 61% comes from that strong placement points. They really do well at picking up those eliminations as well. 102 so far in their journey. Now, on board with Revsguard, Scram, and Stompy. We're talking about it. These are another big name in the region, another big trio, trying to find their footing, trying to find their placement, looking for that statement. Already in the NA East, we had Zate make statements. We already seen 4ZR make a statement going back to back. Revsguard, Stompy, Scram, another strong trio that a lot of people had their eggs in that basket. Even me myself already predicted them in week 2 to do well, but they just haven't got that together. Already with one elim. Let's see how they go the rest of the way here, Sundown.
Yeah, I'm gonna semi-hot take, but I almost think that Nate and 4ZR not qualifying this week is almost a blemish on their back-to-back. Like, granted, I know we've talked about just kind of like how difficult it is kind of to keep that motivation up, particularly once you've made the heats going through, but there's still money on the line. They still were able to win the top 2 the first 2 weeks, right? So not being able to make that top 33, like before for me coming into this week, they were definitive far and away the favorites in the region. Now I kind of look at this and I'm like, I'm not so sure, because if they don't really have the ability to at least push through the finals and then kind of take the ability to then practice and go through, I'm a little disappointed to not see them today. And I think at least in my mind, it takes them down a notch from all of a sudden they were this S tier, almost untouchable in the region from the fact that they were back to back and so consistent, to now where we look at the performances that AD and Amplify and Matzo are able to put off, and just how well they're able to aggressively gatekeep these teams. As we see right there, that was a whole different team that they're taking on the engagement. But as we say that, Queasy Chapixico trying to get in, but Matzo's going to turn the high ground around onto him, finding huge rifle shots up onto the high ground. They're fighting 2 teams at once here, Sancho.
And they're making it look easy right now. It is the elite going versus the elite. Train hard, as they were doing what their best, as my boy Shia would like to say. Get on the hype train at the moment, because Train Hard is just doing it. And this is a big-time trio that they're taking out. This is one of the prediction picks of Reese. And when Reese puts that stamp on you, when Reese says you're going to be one of the best today, but Amplify, Matzo, and ADN say not so fast, as Chapix is only left to fight for himself. We have been seeing Lone Ranger heroic performances, but I don't know. When you got a trio like Matzo, ADN, Amplify knocking on your door, and like you said, on all cylinders, like a sharp blade going through it all, this hot butter, it's just a matter of moments as Chapix is now doing his best to run for his life.
Chapix against the world, but Amplify gonna clean him up. No running, no hiding, and that's their 7th elimination, taking him out right there. And I don't think anybody picked Amplify, no. Matzo, and ADN. I think, is it too late? Hey, production, can we just, Becca, I know you're back there. Can you just swap that graphic real quick so next time we pull it up? Because these guys are looking real good. The fact that they've continued to push forward and they're taking these aggressive fights and closing these teams out. And notice, too, the one thing I think they do better than any other team is their timing around these storm rotations. They're never caught in the storm, partially because of the fact they land so centrally, almost just completely central on the map, but they're also never too early. They're never rotating the fact where the people who have pulled the zone are able to have these kind of concentrated gatekeeping efforts on them, because they have to have occupied space on the other side. And as you can see that, they're trying to get up there, but there is a player on the low ground who's just trying to sneak his way in. They are going to get pinned here. However, nobody coming up on the backside, and having the natural hill is going to give them a little bit of room, so plenty of breathing space.
Look at their elims as well. 7 eliminations. Like, wow. I mean, we've been seeing in this qualifying weeks is like people have 5 elims, but they have the ability to drop double digits, and they're not even in the end game. If they could get there, that's when the massive amount of eliminations are possible for all these trios, considering that everybody's constricted in a tight area. Amplify, AD, and Matzo are kind of like, if you kind of look in the NA East region, they're like Xset. They love fighting on the low ground. So expect them to be on the low ground, in the mud, trying to rack up the elims. And if you're, like you mentioned, hip to hip, if you are on the same page as so far they are, you could get so many elims. And now we're going to go to another member of Trainhard, and that is Alpha, Blaster, and Nikov, looking for their first start here. Now, this is where the scary situation is, Sundown, is when you're kind of playing for this placement game, trying to get to the end game. You haven't really picked fights. You maybe got a couple storm tags here and there. And now you could walk away with still 0 points because placement points only get doled out at the 17th and on. So scary situation from them going in with 0 at the moment.
Yeah, you don't want to end up getting picked off right in those last moments. As you can see now, them fighting hip to hip from the box, trying to get whatever sprays out as you can. But Sneakoff and Blaster paired up with Alpha there on the side. One refereeing ATX, the other one on Vitality. All 3 communicating in French. The French Fortnite scene having a very large presence in Europe. Some of the best players being able to come out of there both historically and in the current day. But right now you can see Letwick is the focus of a lot of that lobby fire. You can see just trying to box up, take no additional damage. Instead, he is going to get knocked. Cavado's going to have to get down and cover him if they don't want him to be converted on. But too late. Letwick going to get ticked over there as the lobby focus will be more than enough as we pan over to the side.
It's going to be interesting to see that we're watching here with this great drone shot, seeing everyone trying to get their position here. We're getting closer and closer to that fantastic, pure, nerdy, rotational circles, end games, whatever you want to call it, Fortnite fam. We're about to get to that as we're seeing so much has happened around Lazy Lake. Not a lot of high elevations. If this goes across the POI of Lazy Lake, you're going to see a lot of teams kind of recycle those buildings as much as possible. But Hen, Putrick, and Deceptos, one of the favorites of going in, the underdog as well, I feel like in the same kind of boat as the Train Hard squad. But look at this, man. Everybody's kind of chill at the moment. I feel like this is a lot of people have been getting eliminated so quickly here. I mean, we already saw some pop-off eliminations here, but now this is a squad. Like I mentioned earlier before, it's all or nothing. So if you want to root for an underdog, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, bonesies and josies, theys and thems, this would be the squad to vote for. As Mappy picks up a nice elim, they need to place in top 15 for them to go ahead and advance into the heats.
The top 15 is what we're going to be focusing on largely tomorrow. Today, it's all about establishing yourselves, getting in there, doing everything you can. Left Eye, somebody we've seen before, but Mappy and Finanin, or Finagen? I have no idea. I apologize. I'm assuming it's something that I definitely don't know how to pronounce, but you can see trying to find a little bit of room here. They have pulled priority on the zone, and they're also going to pick up Serenity swaps. Good job converting on the knock, but they wanted to get it in a big hit on the Versa. Left Eye saying, no problem, I got more than enough experience. That's 5 eliminations coming out from the trio, and with priority position on the zone, they should have more than enough mats now to create room for themselves.
Left Eye's trio is sticking to the rivers and lakes that they're used to, doing really well at the moment. This is it. This is their first time experience in round 3. We've seen Mona at the very first, had a really decent run at first. They had a hot start, and then they cooled down. But can Left Eye's trio maintain? Yes, this is a 12-game stretch, and this is what the word of the day is going to be entire month is consistency. And in this 12-game stretch, we've been seeing throughout the weeks, this consistency, the cream will rise to the top, to quote the great Macho Man. But here we are, the half in and half out. This is going to be a circle that's safe in the zone, not safe in the zone. As you can see, everyone's already making the rotations, and most of our trios are free. If you're taking a look right now, Storm Surge is active, but it will be slowly turned off at the moment because only when 50 players are alive, one more player has to go down as another elim picks up. So you got to keep an eye on that, and we'll do our best here on the broadcast to let you know, to teach you some things in regards to Fortnite competitive. But right now, Lunef, Moraine, Jaspe picking up a nice elim, using that harpoon to grab as much refresh as possible. But this is another trio here, Sundown, that was not in week 2, and here they are again in week 3.
And you can see they were the ones who were contesting over there against Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson. And coming in before they were able to pick up that elimination, they were sitting on 2 elims, which to me signals they're probably still contesting over there. And the ones who won that initial drop, however, will have to keep an eye on that battle over the course of these 12 games. The Stark Industry has been hotly contested sometimes in Europe, but right now on board here, Janice and Alex duck on top, aka X Squeeze, trying to find a little bit of space. They have decent priority on the zone. They are going to pop a pepper and try and pop some plentiful points into their back pocket, but right now just getting priority edge on the zone. You can see McTheBeast picking up a pair of elims there. 48 players remaining, so no Storm Surge going to come into play. Some good rifle shots from Janice, but just waiting for the zone to catch up so they're able to move forward. 18 trios remaining, which means the next trio to drop will walk away with 0 placement points, and that's actually going to be Matzo, who is downed right there. He's going to be left back. Amplify and ADN just going to rotate forward, and that's a huge pickup as the Siptos gets Marin. KS Light picks up Comey, and we close in on the top 17. Crashpad ends up coming out, but not quite finding it yet. Fire Hunter gets the conversion onto Comey. Still 44 players left, 18 trios. Gonna wait for the server to catch up here as we switch on over to the wide. You can see a number of players running ahead on the low ground and a couple of individual tarps building out.
If this is your first time watching competitive, you got to kind of slice it into 3 different layers: low ground, mid ground, and height. At the moment, we're watching the team of Hen, Putchik, and Deceptos on the mid ground, really close to the low ground. So they're going to have to be careful to watch the people from height to beam on down, and they have to watch their feet down below. We've been seeing a lot of strategies of the people on the low ground cutting off the people up top a little bit. Also, at the same time, we're in full rotational circles, so now everything's going to be chaotic. You're going to see all our players scramble as much as possible. This is a nice view of the mid-ground tarp right now. All our players are using their builds as much as possible to extend their life, to make sure they could traverse these dangerous areas. But look, dropping E-limbs in the feed at the moment, getting some big-time movement right now at the moment, and I like this clean tarp they have here, Sundown.
Yeah, you can see getting a good level by themselves, making sure they aren't overly contested. 13 players remaining, which means 13 trios left, which means the placement points have been ticking over. You can see eliminations into the Harpoon right away. This is the trio. I drop in the top, Stursix in the bottom right, Vettel in the bottom left, and right now just trying to find as much space as they can. They have a decent number of mats, however, starting to run low on the hard mats. Only 150 metal and 100 metal left on iDrop as they're continuing to use those to tarp out, and now iDrop is going to have the last of their hard mats, which means they're going to have to start turning and looking for eliminations. However, the zones are closing in, and everyone else is going to have to come to them.
The good thing is iDrop does have a Harpoon, but now iDrop has to back up just a little bit as he did get greeted with the big blast down to 11 HP. iDrop, luckily, now this is what the great symbiotic relationship that you see in trios. They're going to help each other out. Some people may have floppers. You could tell that their comms are like, I'm hit, I need floppers, as he picks up a nice knock on Refsguard. iDrop is doing his thing, and you got to be confident in these situations, Sundown. No matter if you're down with no shields, you still have to put your output. You still have a job to do for your trio, and that is doing really well for iDrop, Vettel, and Stursix. They did really well in week 1, and I'm expecting them to do really well here in week 3.
And you can see now that circle going back over the low builds. Currently, Raison, Noah, and Aqua up on the high ground, going to have the advantage when it comes through for this match. But also in the low ground tarp, you have Andalix and Janice on the tarp. We'll have Janice in the top right, Stursix in your bottom right. Right now, a decent number of them as Blaster goes to work on the low ground, going to pick up a number of eliminations. 5 trios remaining. Don't forget top 3 and top 2. Get some additional points and Victory Royale will also walk away with +5. Janice trying to go up vertical in the top right, stuck on a crash pad and a bouncer, but finds a massive shot, able to find the pick there onto Aqua, gets the siphon as well. He's going to continue to go up, trying to ramp up, and you can see the high ground has been taken away. That's Janice, Andalex, and X-Squeezy taken away. Stursix trying to put the shots down. He has some floppers if it goes to a heal off, but the high ground execution, no, 1 point going to be taken away there as Stursix finding the elimination. That's going to close out on Noah Riley, and we have our top 3.
Here we go. We have our top three. Alpha all by themselves as a solo, and we have two trios that's up. Alpha picking up some big-time placement points right now. If he could just hold on, and this is a matter of a battle, the thematic battle between height and low ground, as Giannis is already sitting on the height, has two floppers, going to do the flopper play, and now it's going to be a send down, a squeeze to squeeze out everybody. It is Stir6 who's still up. What does Stir6 have? Does he have enough to outlast? And I think he does it. It is Giannis, Squeeze, and Analex taken away with the first victory royale of the day.
And we've just seen so many times the execution when it comes to taking away the high ground is what matters, and they did it so incredibly.